Kevin Haig.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I want in this contribution to refer to two kinds of transformation that are perhaps embodied or exemplified in this bill. The first of those is a transformation in the stance taken by organisations such as this, because the way in which the Royal New Zealand Foundation for the Blind was first constituted exemplified almost a paternalistic view of how services ought to be provided. And I guess that was in common with the approach to charitable works that was prevalent at the time as well. And under that approach, people who were blind or others who were the recipients of such charitable services were seen as passive recipients who ought to be grateful for the largesse of the state or of the charities that provided for them. And Mr Speaker, things have moved on quite a bit from there, and part of that is demonstrated in the change of name of the foundation itself, becoming first of all Foundation of the Blind, to make the point that in fact the foundation sets out to be an organisation that is comprised of people who are blind or have visual impairment. And this next step that the bill provides for, the cutting the ties to statutory basis for the foundation, I think is the next logical step, and that accompanies the 2012 registration of the Blind Foundation as an incorporated society, marking that full transition away from an arm of the state or an entity of the state through to a fully independent organisation of the blind people themselves. And empowerment, Mr Speaker, is one of the two pillars for achieving independence. The other pillar for achieving independence that I want to speak about, Mr Speaker, is changing the environment that surrounds blind people, because when we speak of disability, there's an ongoing debate about whether we should talk about people who have disabilities as being disabled. And indeed, that is the preferred term, sir, because people who have disabilities are disabled by the failure of the society around them to provide space to adequately integrate those people into the full life of society. And Mr Speaker, that's another of the changes that the Blind Foundation has made. It has now emphasised the importance of services that enable blind people to participate fully in society. And in the few minutes that I have remaining, I want to talk about two extraordinary New Zealanders, Joan and Jim Newcombe. They're my parents-in-law. Jim Newcombe is 86. He is blind, has been now for some decades. And Jim is the person who I go to when I'm at home, when I want to know what's really going on in the world, because it's Jim who will have read all of the latest magazines and all of the latest books, and he does that through the services of the Talking Book service from the Blind Foundation. It's Jim who actually gets around the town, and he does that using his guide dog, again, for the services of the Blind Foundation. He's got his watch from the Blind Foundation. He's got his globe from the Blind Foundation. And a more connected man, a man more in touch with what's going on in the world, I cannot think of. He could not have achieved that without the services of the Blind Foundation. And Mr Speaker, Joan Newcombe is one of the principal fundraisers for the Blind Foundation. And so her efforts are what enables Jim to participate fully. So, Mr Speaker, I fully commend this bill to the House, and I thank the Blind Foundation for its work. Thank you, sir.
Tim McIndoe in reply.